This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
Damn, dude, you're on one today.
It's Friday, and I'm happy I don't have kids, so this is fantastic.
It's like a drug in itself.
It is, man. Just wait until you have. I would say the third one is when it creeps up on you, because the first one is just one kid, no matter how old they are. Anybody will watch them. They're too cute. You're still having the same life. Two kids, almost the same. They're both still really cute. Plenty of people will watch a brother and a sister. 3 kids? Just forget you have a checking account. Don't even think about driving. That's gas money that could be for the kids. Just get on the bus. Friday nights are totally out because the other 2 are now older, but not old enough to babysit. So you have the little baby every weekend. Nobody's going to watch 3 kids. Just forget it. Forget that. And then slowly, the 4th kid comes, and nobody likes you. They're like, no, we won't babysit. Of course we won't babysit. What were you thinking? We don't babysit basketball teams. Like, it doesn't happen. And they're all too small, so they can't watch one another, and then you're me. And it's like, what's the 5th kid at this point? You're already done.
You're making a little mini army there, aren't you? That's what you're doing.
I do have an army.
I don't know. I think I would stop at 2 and never. If I was going to go down that road, yeah, like 2 is enough.
I should have thought about that, but I didn't. You know, Sarah is hot, and she says baby, and I say get in the bed. You know what? That's just the way it is. There's no talk, and I don't have an idea of how much is too much. Like, I can't get enough. So here we are.
Maybe it's time to get the snip.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to worry about it, but you can still have fun.
Are we recording?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I might edit some of this
Don't
into there too.
publish this. People feel sorry for me.
Yeah, dude, I let it go for a while beforehand to warm up every time. And then sometimes I get good little blooper things, and I'll slap them in somewhere. It's awesome. Ari never listens to the episodes, so she doesn't know how many times she's had her dirty laundry out for the public to hear.
I don't.
We know
I really
you
don't.
Peter.
Okay. Welcome back to Couch Potatoes. This is episode number 81. And this week we are taking a trip back to Doone's Digital Frontier. We are joined by Doone once again. The topic at hand looks like it has to do with sex and love and interesting things. I'm not really sure how it's going to relate to gaming, but I'm sure that it will, and we'll get to that in a bit. But first, we'll talk about what kind of stuff we've been playing, doing, whatever. So, Doone, enlighten us. Where have you been? What have you been doing? What's good?
Actually, it's been good.
More babies, hasn't he?
More babies. The youngest baby is 1. He turned 1 in January. And the oldest got a year older. So he's 7 now. He's closer to babysitting. And we celebrated that very well. And February was a good month. It was the month of love. Sorry to everyone that was looking for that love episode, but we all got hired in February, so things changed. Other than that, kids. If anyone out there wants cute babies, I've got 4.
Babies aren't cute.
They're on Craigslist.
Babies are ugly.
They're not my babies. My babies. You haven't seen my babies.
No, actually, she's right. Like, newborn babies are fucking ugly. I don't care. Everybody's like, oh, my baby's so cute. No, they're not. They're fucking ugly. But then after like a month or 2, they're pretty damn cute.
No, I think mine were all cute.
I think every newborn baby's got smash face. It just looks wrong.
You smash yourself in a vagina for almost a year. See what happens.
Can I?
Not now.
We're always trying to get back in.
You guys.
No, they're adorable. My kids have been cute all the time.
I'm usually the one that's making everyone else cringe, and now it's you guys.
We just had to bring up the right subject material. So have you been playing any games, Doone?
A little bit. I've been playing Darkest Dungeon, and the game that makes me have too many children, which I shall not mention because no one should play it.
That's okay. You mentioned it before.
And I've been playing Cook Serve Delicious. It's just, I love that game. I'm waiting for the Chef Battle Kitchen, the Kickstarter one. I think that comes out this year.
I haven't heard of it.
I think it's called Battle Kitchen. It's another cooking game, though, but it's awesome. You're going to hunt for the food, and then you're going to cook it.
That sounds interesting.
It's pretty cool. I'll send you guys the link.
I think I've seen that one, yeah.
It's got really beautiful graphics, and it's like gourmet chef style. So, like, is it Battle Kitchen? Let me look it up.
Yeah, Ari, I guess, Ari, it can be your turn, since Doone is
Everything. Everything. I am the cult of the new.
Yes.
Incarnate. I've been playing Stardew Valley, I've been playing The Division, I've been playing Black Desert, we just played some Warhammer.
So you've been shooting a lot of
I've been
people?
playing XCOM, I've been playing Duelist. I stopped playing Mini Metro. Now I'm sad.
Aww. That's okay.
Aww.
So, how is Black Desert? I mean, I've been hearing things like it's got old school grind to like EQ style, and then I've been hearing that it's just a generic import. It looks pretty.
It's not a generic import. I wouldn't exactly call it that. A generic import is like Skyforge, you know what I mean? Shit incarnate. But this is better than that. I don't know how it'll turn out. Like, I don't know. The Asian MMOs have ways of like fucking up their games in like new and unthought of ways, usually based on the cash shop. But I don't know if it's going to go that way yet. So it's good at the moment.
I've got a question for you, Ari. How often do you get to play games where you don't kill anybody?
I play Stardew Valley, thank you very much.
It doesn't count.
Why doesn't it count?
That's what everybody's playing right now.
Because it just came out. Would you go to Killers AAA?
What? I played heaps of that game. I've already done a year.
At least we know how you de-stress.
I like the farming simulators. I do. And I play a lot of puzzle games.
And she was playing Mini Metro.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
How many pedestrians did you run over in Mini Metro?
I don't think that's a feature.
And I played The Flame and the Flood. There's no combat in that. Well, I haven't combated yet. But you do get eaten by things. So there's that. So yes, I do play things that don't involve killing.
Speaking of killing, how's The Division?
Good. It is my mass murder simulator. No, I actually really like it.
Do you think it's better or worse than what you were hyped for?
Better.
Really?
Well, like what I played in the beta, it was kind of the same thing. Like the combat's still the same, just a little bit more polished, that kind of stuff. But there's more to the world now. Like they were holding back a lot of the missions and side missions and stuff. And now that you've got a larger world to kind of explore, you feel less like enclosed in a space like you did in the beta. Like all those invisible walls stopping you from moving places.
Right.
And I don't know, I like the progression aspects to the base where you're like adding on those things to get new passives and skills and that kind of stuff. It lets you, play around with your skills and how you're working as a team. And I generally like how strategic some of those missions are with working as a team. So I've been playing with a group.
How realistic is the blood?
Not
I figure that's something
enough.
you notice.
Well, you're going to laugh at this, but now whenever I go through the early levels, I just run in and start like bashing people to death with my gun instead of actually shooting them now because they can't hurt me that much. So I just go in there and start like rifle butting them.
So like bullets aren't gruesome enough for you?
Rifle but you And I had a friend, so like we would just run in there. Even like some of the older stuff, like we'd all just run in there and just start rifle butting someone because you like kind of stun them a little bit when you rifle butt them. So we're all just rifle butting this one like boss, and he can't move and he can't shoot. And it took us like a minute to rifle butt him to death, but we did it. That's hilarious. Yep.
I don't know whether to love you or to cower.
And I have this funny thing where I like go, oh, there's loot over here. And then the person will come where I was and I'll move away, but there's like an explosive barrel there. So when I move away, I shoot the barrel and I kill them. And these are my friends.
Friends like that.
I don't think you and I should be laughing, Islaine. This means she would kill us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm like. You've played Magicka with me.
Yeah, actually, it's true. She'll kill you.
Yep. Again
Not
and
surprising.
again.
Not surprising.
Inventive and extreme ways.
And I think I'm finding the correlation here. It's because she works in childcare. This is why she needs to take out all this violence.
Well, I said that the other day, like, what you like playing reflects, like, to the opposite of what you do in your work life. Like, I like kind of sit and grind kind of stuff. Just the same sort of stuff over and over again because my actual job is so freaking chaotic all the time. And then, yeah, you've also got that nurturing element at work. So afterwards you need, like,
Destruction.
murdering element. Yeah, destruction, chaos.
God, I haven't been playing anything. I can't even lie. I've played like a game of League every day just to try and keep my practice up. And occasionally, some first-person shooter stuff on the console. That's really it. I finished the season journey in Diablo finally, so there's that.
Hey, if you're not playing too many games, there's this new game out called Raise My Kids. And you start out with a kid that's 1 year old. If you want to try it, I can send a kid to you.
No, I'm good. I'm good on that.
No.
And it's not that I'm not playing games because I don't want to. It's that I have so many that I don't know what to play, and then, I get off work and I'm like, I'll play this game.
I
I'll
get
play
that
like
feeling sometimes.
a round or two, and then I'm just like, meh, I'm just gonna watch Netflix. So yeah, I mean, I'm still playing games. I play something every day. It's just like instead of spending 3 or 4 hours in a day, I might only be spending an hour, and it depends on the day. Me and Ari played some Vermintide earlier because they added a new game mode. It's Last Stand, so it's like endless waves of the little rat buggers coming at you. And
yeah, I noticed. I saw you guys playing that.
Yeah.
How is that game?
It's awesome. If you like destroying little rat people.
I saw some videos about it, and it reminded me of Dungeon Defenders. Is it like that?
There's no towers. No, like the normal game is kind of more like you move around through a map until you finish the mission.
It's more like a chivalry time of game,
slashing
slashing and stuff.
It's
Or Left 4 Dead.
Doom.
Left 4 Dead crossed with chivalry.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead is the best analogy you can make for it because it's like those same types of maps, like where you move from one end to the other. You have to do a couple things along the way, and then it's over, and then you do another one. All instanced and everything. Max group size is 4. But it's a fun game though.
If you guys buy it for me, I'll play it.
Oh, maybe when there's a sale.
There's always sales.
Yep. Well, next time it's on sale, let me know.
You've got that well-paying job.
I'm doing okay.
That's how I feel, man.
It's not great, but it's not terrible. All right, yeah. So that's basically all I've been playing. We can move along to the digital frontier now.
So this digital frontier is about love. And love encompasses a lot more than sex, but the only reason sex actually made it into the title is because if you're talking about games and love, very, very few options. There's this weird equation with video games that if it's romantic, sex must be involved. And in most cases, love is never involved. It's just about the sex. And it's pretty much all video games have done on the whole. Now, I want to make a caveat there. There are definitely romantic games out there, or games that try to be romantic is actually a better description. They try at it, but rarely is it seen detached from sex. That's the point. Name any romantic game that you've ever played or ever heard of. I guarantee you there was a sex scene. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So February in my house is the month of love. And it's just basically a family time. It's not necessarily a wife and husband time. It's a month where we allow the kids to be curious about anything that involves relationships that they may be shy about asking about. And it's usually, it's been 7 years now, honestly, and it's been a good month. I had 2 of my children curse, not because my kids have never heard curse words, but you only really care when they're old enough to understand that it's a curse word. You don't care about a 2-year-old cursing. But a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, you're like, what just happened to you? Why would you use those words? And I thought that was awesome because it just means that this month of love thing is effective. My kids will ask us about anything. They will say anything this month that they may have been shy or unsure about saying before. So that's the digital frontier today, love. And I want to kick it off by looking at video games who have attacked pseudo-love in history. And by pseudo, I mean it's actually a sex game. There's no love involved.
I don't think there's been love involved in any game I've ever played. Even if they do have some sort of love story or love interest, it's just that's my princess chick that got stolen, so I love her, so I have to go through all of these hardships to get her back. But that's like the
Very
end of it.
true.
I think The Witcher 3 did it well. That was kind of love.
Tell me about it. I didn't play it.
Well, there's the 2 main female characters, Yennefer and... damn it, I forgot the other one now. The redhead.
So it was between 2 female characters.
No, like, they both equally liked him.
There's a love triangle. That's every dude's fantasy.
Exactly.
It's not just that. If you actually chose both of them in that thing, they would both actually leave you.
Bummer.
You had to actually pick one properly to actually get with them. And it was eventually sex. And it was just the way they actually interacted. Even afterwards, you could see, like, just hand-holding, hugging, a slight turn around and kiss the other person kind of stuff. Like, it's that kind of, that is love,
Yeah, that sounds like a better representation than anything I've ever played.
Like, he was, like, I picked Yennefer in the end accidentally. I didn't mean to.
So you mean like Gerald? Like Gerald?
Gerald.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
okay.
like, they were just, like, went on a mission, and then afterwards they just sat on this, like, boat stern looking out into the sunrise kind of stuff, and that's how that mission ended. And it's like, that's kind of love,
It's romantic.
Is it? Is that love, Ari? Tell us more about love, Ari.
Shush. Love is not wanting to be apart. Love is wanting to be together and just share moments together and that kind of stuff.
I like that definition a lot. What about you, Izzy?
What about
ever encounter it in a game?
No, that's what I said. I can't think of. I mean, outside of like the hero's journey to rescue a princess. There was the interactions with characters in like Dragon Age or Mass Effect, but that it never really felt. It felt tacked on. It didn't feel like they were really emotionally connected. It was just like you could flirt with someone long enough and then they'd give it up. So it never felt romantic or love. It just feels like, throwing some sex in to spice things up, which is what most movies are like, and most of our, popular media is in general anyway. It's just a bunch of sex and then maybe a little bit of love sprinkled on top.
Oh, come on, the Titanic, that was real love, man.
Yeah, but you're also talking about something that's 20 years old.
How is that love? No, that's ridiculous.
Terry, I agree with you. I was totally being sarcastic to show that Izzy has never seen love in his life.
I've seen it. I've experienced love.
That's mean.
No, I'm picking on Izzy. Of course, he knows what
being
it
mean
is.
to Izzy too, but no, that's stepping over that line.
I think Izzy has known love more than he thinks he's known love, actually. So I'm totally kidding with you, dude. Totally.
No, I'm being cynical, but the thing is that it seems like, at least in video games, the people who are creating these stories maybe don't understand love themselves, because it ends up just being about sex.
I think it's more because love is far harder to actually storyfy.
Yeah,
and that leads me to one of the big questions.
It's about actually trying more. Like the second, I think, Witcher, that was just like a card collecting sex game. That was their love.
Yeah,
commerce. You know what I mean?
Talk about cynical.
That's what it was. That's exactly what it was. They actually had cards for when you fucked a girl. That was ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. Wow.
They gave you virtual headboard notches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it really did.
Is that what it was like?
Yeah, I'm serious. It's totally that ridiculous, but that's how ridiculous most developers and game companies take it. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it's like the stupid hot coffee thing in Grand Theft Auto, whichever one, San Andreas.
Which was never about love. Come on.
Exactly, but that's like the equivalent of what.
Like, love
love
is basically
in
having
games.
sex with this person in games, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that is a big part of. If you're in love with somebody,
think
you're probably going to have sex with
most-
them. So, I mean,
Most of these games is usually there's a shock factor.
yeah,
Like, it's
yeah.
not actual, it's just like another notch on their, like, feature list, you know?
right.
I'm
But they're
gonna
not
go
even
on
saying
the
it is
limb.
love, so that's the thing, you know? They don't call
I'm
it
going to
love.
go on a limb and agree with you both. But I do want to caveat it with, I am sure
Can we
there are
hold this
people...
discussion for a bit? I just heard a car door outside. And I'm
You
not
what?
wearing pants.
She was in the mood for love.
She knew how to set up for this show. She was prepared.
No pants.
I love it. Go 100%, Eric. Go for it.
Oh, see, now this is the kind of outtake that I have to leave in because it's so gold. Oh, there was a car door, and I'm not wearing pants.
Oh my god. How would you need to go to Australia? What are we doing here?
I don't know.
Oh my god. Although I think I should keep my pants on.
Fucking Mormons, man.
It was fucking.
Hi, Ari. Hi, pants. Welcome to the show. So one of the big questions, and you guys have already talked about it, and I want to keep talking about it, is how games approach love, if they ever approach it at all. And I want to caveat that with, it is probably more likely than anything else that I just haven't seen these games out there that are out there, and I don't know about these games that are out there that are actually
Mass
about
Effect
love.
did it reasonably well, but also badly at the same time.
I don't know if I
Like,
agree. I think Mass Effect...
No, romancing some of them is just this terrible affair in idiocy, but then you romance some of the other characters, and it's far more and more like romantic duality to that relationship. You know what I mean?
I'd agree, but I think part of the problem with any BioWare romance is both mechanical,
Yes.
actually just mechanical.
Yeah.
I think that the writers...
That's why I said it's kind of tacked on feeling.
Although I like my
I don't
husband
know if
giving me
it's
gifts
tacked
too.
on, though.
So
I don't... Wait, what'd you say, Ari?
I said I like my husband giving me gifts too. So
That's part of it, for sure. I don't know if it's tacked on so much as there's this wide discussion at BioWare every time they do a romance scene, and in the end, they have to be practical and mechanical. So they just settle on these, 3 options, and they're like, that's it. So I don't know where the line is with them on that, but I totally agree with you both. They don't do it justice. I do think they try, but I think there's this other issue, which
well, I
isn't-
think they try too hard. They're trying to make it far more mechanical than it should be. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Like all these
That's the
different
thing.
morality and like plus and minus systems and all that kind of stuff. Like I think Love in Games works best when it's actually just a developed story rather than a mechanic.
Well, they're trying to kind of balance, I think, because their audience is going to be playing the game, and like they seemingly know their audience, to some degree. So I think it might be kind of like trying to walk that line between like we want to put this human love aspect into the game, but we also don't want to make it the focal point of the game because some people would be like, well, I don't care about that. I just want my sci-fi RPG. You know what I mean? So like they might want to bring some of those human aspects in. I mean, they've tried to cover some more, diversification and things in their games. So it's like they're trying to bring it in, but they don't really know how to do it without pissing everybody off, so they're just doing it kind of half-assed.
So I think both of you are right, but I think too there's this really practical line between meat space and virtual space where
Meat
it's
space.
like, no, really,
Meat
I
space.
think about when I play a game like Dragon Age and I'm like, do I want to romance this person? And I know, like, most of us
Dragon
do.
Age is universally terrible.
It's terrible, but I love it for the effort, man. The effort is there. The effort is there. Nobody can deny. The effort is there, but there, I think, is this difficulty, and maybe it's not a difficulty people should be having, but developers are definitely having, with sort of knowing how to put love into the mechanics. I don't know if that makes sense. So I do feel like there's an effort, but I feel like there's this fight between mechanics and real human relations.
Well, the funny part with that on Dragon Age was that, like, at a certain point in the game, they added a DLC where you could download these gifts, and essentially one would enable you to give, like, full...
Yeah, that was for the Dragon Age Origin.
Yeah, like, you would use the one gift and it would give you full rep with the person, and then, like, you could use another one to, like, drop it. So you could use that to manipulate people to where you could essentially, like, sleep with everyone within the same playthrough. But they also are teaching kids that, like, all you have to do is give a really big gift to a girl and then she'll sleep with you. Yay!
Oh, come on. Who are you kidding?
Some girls.
They're teaching that to adults. Both of you stop kidding us. They're teaching that to adults. There are adults in the gaming community, I dare say at least half the community, who don't understand these things. I'm not judging them for it, but I'm saying we do live in
I'll
a
judge them
time.
for you.
I don't. I really don't. No matter how great, benign, or horrific their ideas are, there are people out there who have never seen or never recognized. Let me put it that way. They may have seen it, but have never recognized love or even just sexual interest. I mean, just water it down. Have never seen sexual interest. And these things work.
I think it's different than that, though. Like, I think it is important in certain instances because it makes people feel good about themselves. You know what I mean?
I think that's important.
In a, intrinsic way. Like,
I think that's important.
Love situations like those ones I talk about with Geralt and that, where it's more a developed story. It doesn't feel like you there. You know what I mean? That's that character's relationship. That's that character's, you know.
I don't know. I don't know if I wholly agree
you get
there.
To those ones where you've like interacted with that character, chosen the storylines, given them gifts or whatever, and then that happens. Like that kind of stuff makes you feel good about yourself, I guess. Like I personally don't. Like I don't get it, but I'm sure there are people out there who do feel that sort of sensation when that happens.
I think games should continue to do that at all costs, as a matter of fact. I don't know that I think it's important. I think we should eventually get to that point, but I don't know that it's imperative to always display these romances and whatever you want to call them as good-feeling love. I do think there's value in a sort of no-holds-barred, make the player feel accepted, desired, right about their romantic choices. I think there's a great value in that. I think old school nerds suffer from this very thing. And I think games like Dragon Age and games like Mass Effect, no matter how unrealistic or kind of off they are about it, you know, give that one person the impetus to say, I'm gonna download Tinder tonight. Like, I want that feeling in Meat Space. I think there's value in that. So you're right. I agree with both of you, honestly. But, you know, how bad is it that games get the sort of experience or, I hate to say it, but gameplay of love relationships wrong? Like, is that an overall bad thing or is it a net good thing? That they're even trying? What do you guys think?
I don't know.
It's hard to say. It really is. Because if you...
Like, I would go out there and say some of them definitely shouldn't exist.
Like which ones? Like tell us.
Oh, I don't know.
Like a scene, even like a
All
terrible.
that Dragon Age stuff was like universally terrible to me. I just the way they talked to the people and and fuck me, it's dumb.
Wait. I didn't think the dialogue was so bad. It's just
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad.
Like just seeing it though, just seeing what happened after you said something was horrible. It was
the
a
dialogue.
laughably
It's
horrible.
the mechanics behind it that just make it so lol worthy. You know, like I don't know. It's just so and so disapproves of this and all that kind of stuff. Give them a gift like it's plus 20 like and all that kind of stuff.
But they don't care. Yeah. Yeah.
Did both of you play Dragon Age?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a question. My favorite romances in
I
Dragon
haven't played
Age.
the recent one, but yeah.
No, let's just talk about Origins. Honestly, whichever one you played is fine for the question. But I'm thinking of Origins. Which relationship or, two relationships did you find like you thought were in good taste? So my favorite relationships were Chevron. I don't know how anybody could not pick this dude. This was an interesting
I don't remember
relationship.
their names anymore.
He was the assassin spy guy.
Elf guy that was bisexual.
Yeah.
Oh,
That guy was. I loved talking to that guy.
He was funny, but
he was hilarious.
I played through that game so many times to get all the different endings and do all the romances, so I've done them all. My first was Morgana, just because she's the hottest one. But then
Morgana was my other favorite.
I kind of liked the redhead too. I don't remember, Liliana or whatever her name was.
Liliana.
Then I also made a female character so I could do the males, and Alistair was like kind of annoying and a little bitch.
Oh, he is such a wet blanket. But no, like he was one of my what was it, the fuckable posts I made? He's the guy
he's like cute and sweet, but like such a dumbass.
And by that you mean he was the easiest to fuck. Let's get real.
No, you want to fucking
Zevron was the
easiest. He's such a sad sack all the time.
And Zevron didn't care if you slept with others. Yes, he was, because you could go at him as a guy or a girl, and he didn't care who else you slept with. You could have slept with someone else and broken off and then went with him, and he was fine with it.
That part was true, but I mean on the whole, if you're talking about like a beginning to end romance, like which of you did not think, obviously, I could date Alistair?
Well, I mean, he was obviously a love choice from the get-go because you have him so early. Especially if you were playing a female character, he would be a little sweet on you.
There was no mystery with Alistair for me. Everybody else was fun. He was like, okay, if I have to end the game, I know I can end it with this guy. Like, that's who he was for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
He was just my meat shield.
Yeah, he was that too. Yeah. Morgana was my other favorite, for sure. Not because I didn't get the, sort of superficial gothic hot chick vibes from her, but I genuinely found her interesting, to be honest.
She was like a total Daria, though. Like...
What do you mean?
Like, she was totally like a downer, like, really, like... Yeah, like you said, like emo goth chick.
Like too in tune with the real world?
Yeah, just like really like a downer. Like, but she was hot, so it was like... And she was half naked half the time, so you're like, yeah, of course.
What about you, Ari? Who were your favorite romances?
I didn't like any of them. I already said that. I don't like Dragon Age.
Wait.
All the characters are equally annoying and idiotic.
Wait.
Stupid.
Important show note here. The dudes think this was good, and the woman here is pointing out to us how fucked up we are. Tell us.
I know a lot of people like Dragon Age, but I just found it the most trite piece of crap in the world.
Wait, why do you think so?
I just didn't enjoy it at all.
No, at all, in any way.
At all.
What?
But you like Mass Effect.
Exactly.
That makes no sense. It's like the same game, but just in space.
Mass Effect is a good game, not like fantastically amazing, you know what I mean?
I'd probably put it in like top 10.
I think.
And I just felt like the characters in Mass Effect had more of a personality to them, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just like some one-dimensional cookie cutter, like, throw a dart at a board. This person's going to be a sad emo idiot. This person's going to be... like...
No, I see what you mean. Yeah, there's some stereotypes.
Let's check off the tick board of stereotypes here, and that's the characters in Dragon Age.
But Mass Effect... I didn't romance anyone in Mass Effect. at all.
Garrus.
I didn't romance anyone. I just played through the game. And I was friendly with some of them, but like never got to a point where they wanted to hook up with me.
So I'm with Izzy on this, and that's what makes this more interesting. So who did you like to romance in Mass Effect? Eri.
I already said that, Garrus.
Why? I would have never
I
even
don't know.
thought.
It's not just that he's...
Have even thought.
He looks like a squid or something.
No, it's a grasshopper. It's a space grasshopper. I don't know how it would work.
So you find grasshoppers attractive, huh?
And it was that moment where they were in like the cabin together, and then he just like pushes his head to her head.
She was at a bar when she found Garrus attractive.
It's not
the drunken space cricket.
No, it's just how they interacted together. Like it seemed more.
We have to remember
natural.
that women are more mentally stimulated than men, so she was into him for the conversation.
Not to buy into the stereotype.
And he was just like a sarcastic dick to people, and I like that too.
No, not to buy into stereotypes too much, but Izzy has a point here.
That is true.
There are things that the cultural construction of men really doesn't even leave space to consider. I have never, ever thought, even as a gamer, not as a man, but just a gamer, to romance Garrus. Never occurred to me. And even after I read the articles, I never went back and tried it. Like, I think that's the point. It's not that the stereotype as an image is true, but that there is really something about culture that's even on a level that I personally can't really talk about, even though I agree with. That's just how it is. It's just how it is.
We're all like focused on fanfic and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Whereas the guys, it's the art afterwards, the Rule 40. What is it? 54 art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it works. Like we want to see the fanfic of this like stuff kind of going on. We want to read that.
Hence,
and
like
imagine
romance
it, whereas
novels.
guys want to see it right in front of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Romance novels versus porn. Got it. We have boiled it all down.
It's true. Okay, so here's a question actually for Izzy. Like, as a traditional male, like, think back to your early 20s about what you thought of these kind of things. Like, not as a, diehard, unchanging, heterosexual male, but just as someone young in the world. You know what you know. You believe what you believe. And there's a million of reasons for them. Like, what did you actually think of these things? And for me, it's like, I didn't think about these things ever. Never. And the point is, like, I've played things recently, or even thinking about reviews that made me go back to Mass Effect or Dragon Age to try those romances, like, were not persuasive. Like, it's like, okay, I'll nod and say, okay, good. Garrus was a viable romantic option. I am thoroughly uninterested. And I don't think it's because, I'm a traditional male, although that may turn out to be true. There is a real point at which you're really not interested. You're capable of being persuaded that this is a good idea. But your body, your mind, your sensitivities are not interested. You've been trained to such an extent that you're like, okay, Garrus is a romance. And you flip the page and you go to Morgana. And you're like, whatever. Okay, whatever. Garrus is good, but I don't care about Garrus. So what is the role of games in making people like me pursue, out of curiosity alone, hooking up with Garrus? Like, what do games have to do? Give him a vagina?
I mean, no, because I just played a female character. When I played Dragon Age another time, I just made a female character to hook up with the males. And so it was just
You're hardcore.
It was just a pure mechanical thing, though, just to get all the trophies.
Yeah, so you were just achievement stuff like that.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Achievement whore. Let's make sure we put whore on Islane. Let's make this a bipartisan label.
I've called myself a trophy whore, so that's not a big deal. I kind of got away from that. I don't really chase achievements all that much, but at the time I was very much into chasing them. So for me, it was a completely mechanical thing. It was just doing what the mechanics required in the game to get the trophy, not necessarily giving a shit about the romance options.
Was there anything about when you were on that journey to romance this guy that you thought, not interested, but interesting?
I mean,
anything at all?
No, not really, because I'm not attracted to men. So there's nothing there where I'm like, oh, this brings out some sort of curiosity within myself about men or romance between men. I understand that it happens, and I'm totally cool with guys being romantic with each other, but I'm not one of those guys, so...
Okay, let's get to a more explicit question. So, bias aside, I have a woman who's very strong. This is the same quality that attracts me to male friends in a different way than attracts me to female friends. So the bottom line is I admire strength. With men, it leads me to not be attracted to men. With women, it leads me to be attracted. You didn't encounter any difficulties like that? Because I think right now, if I turned on Mass Effect and I went for Garrus, there would be conflicts from day one.
Well, okay, so... I can't say anything about Mass Effect because I didn't do the romance options, but I can still make the same analogy with Dragon Age. Zevron is more appealing just because of the fact that he was easy, I guess. Whereas
do you like easy women?
Sometimes, but not necessarily all the time. And I also
not to joke because
I'm being serious.
Yeah, just give him a few drinks and he's fine.
Yeah.
Wait, there are easy men. I hope that did not come across as a totally wrong thing. Actually, I would say 100% of men are easy. I would say that. So
yeah.
It's a good question though. Is it in the same way that you're attracted to that quality in a woman?
It's not so much that I would say I'm attracted to easy women, but I appreciate that. I mean, like, I appreciate not having to put out a lot of fucking effort to get what I want, I guess. But, Alistair was kind of annoying because you had to put a lot of effort into him because he was really needy and really unsure of himself, unconfident, needed a lot of reinforcement.
He was the woman society trains us to believe exists.
Right, yeah, exactly. So
he was literally... I agree with you 100%.
So that made him unattractive to me because he was overly needy and I had to reinforce him positively over and over again. And I feel people should be able to do that for themselves. You should be complete in yourself before you try to bring on love or sex or anything. So he needed you to complete him. He wasn't complete by himself. Whereas Zevron was like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I'll fuck a guy. I'll fuck a girl. I don't care.
Zevron was he was attractive. Show me the blood, right?
He was attractive because he was confident in his abilities, he was charismatic, yada yada. You know. So I'm attracted to those qualities.
Love it. I think that's a perfect answer to what I was about to ask, which is how much of this romance duality is bullshit, and I think in my personal experience, 100% of it, 100%. There's a really hard part involved though, which is like sort of unseeing or unbelieving, which you've been told is categorically wrong. And I think games get really stuck on that hump. Like, how do you make Dragon Age romances better? And I don't know that I even know that, even though I think I've been in relationships which have taught me what's better.
I think part of it is, I think there's people out there that would think that game would be better without the romances options at all.
Wait, how is it better? That's radical.
I think that there's a lot of people out there that would think that, because it's the same people that don't want diversity in games. They don't want anything real life or political in their games, you know, those sorts of people. And I've been that type of person, so I can speak from experience. Like, the romance isn't really important to the core of that game. And that's where it feels tacked on, because it's not important. You can go through the whole game without romancing anyone. It's not required. It's great that it's an option, and it does give you more things to explore, but it's not necessary. And if you took it out completely, the experience of the game would be roughly the same.
Okay. I would have to argue it wouldn't be.
I think it would be, just because I made it through Mass Effect without doing romance at all.
Yeah, but I would argue it'd be a lesser game if you're not actually interested in the characters, both not just romantically, but story-wise. You get a lot of story elements out of that sort of stuff.
But the interactions are good, great. Yeah, that's cool. And you could still have those interactions without having the option to romance. There could still be flirty text without having the options to actually bed them.
You might be right, Izzy, but actually I think this is an interesting twist. So tell us more what you're saying here, Ari. That the character is more interesting than sort of what the gameplay is trying to achieve. How many women did you romance?
I think she left.
So keep that silence in the recording. That's great. But no, seriously, like, I think there's something to it. I really do. This idea that how it plays out is not the value, and that's actually an important point, because video games tend to emphasize player experience. So sort of trying to put stuff in the game that isn't 100% about gameplay feels like automatically the wrong thing to do, but it probably isn't, right? Maybe there's something more to the in-between that makes this worthwhile or worth trying to get right, or as close to right as a virtual experience can get. So please finish what you were saying, Ari.
I don't remember what I was saying.
Let us refresh your memory. So you were saying, Izzy was saying that having these other options, basically, he went for the gameplay that he wanted to go for, and nothing persuaded him otherwise. He went for the achievements, or he went for whatever his gameplay goal was at the time. You're saying that when you engaged in these romantic experiences, there was more value than just, the next positive option that advanced your game was giving you. There was a value in it other than progressing the game.
Yeah, of course. A lot of those games are story-based. The story and the lore and the world is part of the appeal of those big games like that. I would argue a lot of people feel that about both Mass Effect and Dragon Age, and not interacting with the characters. That's your loss.
I'd agree personally. I'd agree. That's a big part of it for me.
I'm not even talking having to romance them per se, but still talking to them and interacting in those sort of ways.
So I think right here I need to make a personal confession. I'm
dun,
kind
dun,
of.
Dun.
I know, man. Please don't Twitter this, guys. Anybody, keep it to yourself. Just be proud that you know more about Doone. But for me, it's like, I genuinely have. I think this is one of the most challenging aspects of relationships for me, is separating those things out, because when I like someone, the door is open. And when they are like, no, there's a door in between liking me and loving me, I'm like, no, they're the same thing. I may not love you, but we're on that path, and because we're on that path, no, there's either we're on the path or we're not on the path. And so I tend to be
I would agree with that. It's a sliding scale. It
might be, and I think maybe this is where game designers get stuck, right? That on this sliding scale, they're saying romance happens like this. You flirt a little. There's always sex. This is what games tell us. And, there may or may not be love. At the end, the final decision, I think about Morrigan. And the options with her are there is no love. At the end of the game, you have this baby, you don't have this baby. There's the feelings are nothing.
She just used you and bounced out.
She basically did. She cashes out. She's like, look, we're doing this for the world. I don't want to see you after this. If we do, whatever, but don't expect me to come home and cook dinner.
Oh, and then if you got the expansion, you actually chase her down a little bit, but it doesn't end very well.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything for her, right?
Right.
And I have been told personally, in relationships that ended that I didn't want to end, that, what are you thinking, Chris? This is the end of the line. Well, how are you even thinking otherwise? And it's because for me, the door is open or it's closed. This is, I think my point here is that I think that's sort of something culture teaches us, that romance is this thing that you pursue and eventually you always win. Like, you always win. For men, at least, this is the narrative. Like, just pursue it. She's going to treat you bad. It's going to be horrible. But guess what? You win. Right? This is the cultural narrative. And how much of what we're seeing in games is sort of the same very real, ordinary people, game designers, game engineers, grappling with that line, saying, oh, does Morrigan become, the quote wife? Is there always a happy ending? Part of that is because the presumption is that the ending will be with a man, right? I picked a male character, he's the champion. How much of it is that game designers just being like, you know what, that's way too complicated. This is how the romances go. You're gonna fuck him, you're gonna fuck her. It may or may not be love. I feel like that's how all the romances in games I've engaged in end. You can guaranteed get the sex, but you might not get the person. Is that true for you guys? That silence went on like 1 second too long.
I don't know. I mean, I've had relationships where I was in love, but it's been a very long time since that's happened. Yeah, I don't know. It's a fickle thing.
Fickle.
Well, because, you might start talking to someone new and think, oh, yeah, it sounds great, maybe this will go somewhere, and then, red flags pop up or other bullshit happens, and, it just turns out that they weren't the right person, so you move on to the next one.
They say something like, let's have 4 young kids all at once? Is that a red flag?
Yeah, that's a let's get the fuck out of Dodge kind of flag.
So I failed that test. Totally failed.
Yeah, you missed the warning signs.
Didn't see it at all. I don't know. What about you, Ari? Do you think that's something do you think when a designer is at the table and they're making these romances, they say, you know what? Too complicated. It's going to be always sex, maybe love.
Well, it's mostly just sex. That's the definition of winning, which is a little silly.
Interesting. That's interesting, though. That might be completely true. That if you're playing a game, what's more important to you? You have, on the whole, 5 hours to complete this game. Is it more important to you to find somebody you love or to get the sex?
What else would there be? Like, it's really hard to put like a relationship in context when you're like let's look at Fallout 4 and your companions. Like, the only reason you really want them is like an extra like
meat shield
gun, yeah, or a meat shield. Like, I don't know, like even in like Mass Effect, like that's all they are. They're a team member most of the time,
So they're practical companions. They're not like real companions. They're practical. They need you, you need them at the time, and that's all you can be expected to think about.
Yeah, I don't think we may have made quite the emotional connection to games that you're looking for.
I don't really either.
I think I'd agree. Because as I sit here...
Like, I like some characters, and I will even go that far with them in those, like, relationship aspects, but I still don't develop that intense emotional connection to them like I see. Like, I'm on Tumblr a bit, and, like, some of the people there are, like, way too interested in some of these characters, and I'm like, yeah, that was pretty cool. I like that story arc, but...
but
not in the emotional way. I don't know.
No attachment for you.
Well,
Don't
I don't
go out
connect
with
it
Ari.
to myself.
Okay.
I don't connect.
Anybody
I don't
listening?
connect those in-game relationships to myself. That's that character.
She's gonna break your heart.
Probably, actually.
Heartbreaker.
Heartbreaker from Australia. Did we expect less? No, I'm kidding. No, I agree with you, actually. I think, especially when you start taking into account the sort of fandoms, especially those engaged in the stories that aren't written by the developers, they have a really special, hard-to-explain interest in how the story goes.
They really do. And, like, the personality of the character and the background and, like, how the relationship connects together.
In some cases, though, you might say
they're incredibly in-depth. I actually like the fan fiction more than I like the actual in-game stuff most of the time.
Sometimes, though, that like people that are obsessed with fan fiction or fictional characters in general are maybe socially awkward, so they're not getting that in real life. So they're
wouldn't say that either.
I think some people, yeah,
Interesting.
I think some people aren't getting the emotional needs met in real life, so they may get it out of fiction. You know, living vicariously.
That makes sense. What do you think, Eric?
I don't think so. I think some people are just more prone to getting connected to these characters. You know?
Why?
Invested in characters like that. Same as movies or books and that kind of stuff.
But why?
I don't know. Some sort of brain chemistry I don't have.
But do you think it's totally...
Mine lights up when I kill something. Theirs lights up when they get to romance something.
Okay, so you're a murderer. You are not the example we're going with here.
Oh,
you're
totally.
A killer. We got that.
I actually do. I enjoy those stories. I enjoy reading those stories. I've actually even read like some sexual fanfic and like enjoyed it. But
so two questions then for you. One is why you find them more interesting than what the developer wrote. But two is why you think there may not be something to what Islaine is saying, which is maybe people are trying to meet a need in the game. They're not getting in meat space. And I don't know either way, but I think these are questions worth entertaining. So why do you think the fan versions are so much better, and why do you think that people so like attached to those fan narratives are maybe not taking it too far?
I think it's probably because games have to be constrained by their mechanics. Not just mechanics, but also the time in them, you know what I mean?
Like how long it takes?
Well, not just that, like you're not going to sit there for 2-hour cutscenes about two characters' relationships, you know what I mean?
2-hour cutscenes are awesome.
Fucking terrible.
Fuck no, I would not play that game.
I'm not playing it. Like I played Life is Strange, and that's a lot of cutscene stuff, and I enjoyed that. That's a good story. I enjoyed that relationship as well. But I don't know, like it enables them to go into more depth.
Do you think if the game developers or the game writers went to those lengths, they could achieve the same thing? Do you think there's a reason they don't achieve that?
It would probably actually be a worse game for it.
Why? If the fan fiction is better, why would the game be worse
you lose
for a
lot
better
of the
story?
pacing. You lose a lot of the flow from one point to the next, from one story element to the next.
So it's story
if it's a
versus
relationship
mechanics.
game, fine. Like you're playing Hateful Boyfriend, that's what the entire game's about. But if you're playing, say, Dragon Age and Mass Effect,
true.
The story.
But so you're saying it's mechanics versus story. You pick the story or you pick the mechanics, and you can't have both.
I pick the mechanics for a game. I can pick the story for my written literature.
But you think that wouldn't work if you tried to put it in the actual mechanics?
Well, it's the same principle as you can't take a book and make it into a good movie. Because there's just so much more content in the book than you can fit on the screen that people will actually sit for that long to watch. You could, because otherwise, I mean, if we're really going to take a book and translate it into a movie or a game, even page by page, you would need a very large game or like a long series rather than just a movie. Because cramming, it takes 60 hours to read a book, and you got to cram that down to 2 hours to watch in a theater.
Okay, so let me reduce that down, and I'm being very reductive here. Listeners, don't take this as the Bible-written fact, but it's not just practicality. It's literally competing for my individual attention. Will I sit here for a 2-hour cutscene about love, or do I need to push a button every
minute? Of course it is. But it's just like games actually specifically about love, sex, whatever, hentai, if that's your thing, are going to be a lot better than a game that tries to have that as a side story. You know what I mean?
That's where the tacked on bit comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's still good elements to have in your game, but just the foundations of that so you can take it further with your imagination, all that kind of stuff, It
also comes down to the kind of people that you are, like what kind of games you play. Because, I mean, a game that's completely about romancing people probably wouldn't appeal to some people. It wouldn't appeal to me. But a game that's purely based on fighting stuff, it does appeal to me. So, there's going to be an audience for everything.
Which is an interesting digital frontier on its own. I like what you said there. But maybe it's kind of like how before I started reading and listening to and watching blogs, vlogs, podcasts by various developers about why recently it's not the Idea channel. I think it's the Game channel for PBS, the Game channel. They've been on this kick the past month about Super Mario Brothers. And basically every week they put out a video that's like, this is why Mario jumps. This is why Mario shrinks. And it's like, I don't think about that stuff. I turn on Mario, he jumps, he shrinks, he spits fireballs. Like for 25 years probably, I thought Mario was spitting fire. I didn't think he was throwing a fireball. Like this level of sort of like difference between what the developer wanted me to know and what I thought on my own, right? So there's this space in between what Ari said is this room for imagination, which honestly, personally, I think is pretty important. I don't want the game to tell me everything. That sucks. At this point, you're not playing a game, right? You're just, I don't know what you're doing at that point, but you know everything. So there's room for imagination. If we're talking about romance, is it because developers or designers don't want to leave romance to the imagination? Or is it sort of a combination of, I can't have them sitting here for 2 hours on a Netflix. I can't, right? The player needs to push a button every 10 seconds or it's not a game. So, where is it? Where's the line there?
I think a lot of it, too, is our dwindling of attention spans. So having the ability to build up a romance over the course of a game, people might lose interest in because it doesn't happen quickly. So the whole self-gratification of being able to do the hot coffee thing and just walk in and bang a chick is perfect for some people because they just don't have the patience to do anything else.
Although I was one of those players of GTA who never discovered hot coffee on their own. Like, enough news articles were published that I was like, what the hell is this? And, I turned the game on to find out what's going on. I had to say, I was disappointed. It's not how I even imagine sex. Even in, like, my most expedient fantasies, hot coffee was not, like, a hit for me. This was not realistic. So this goes back to Ari's point, though. How much of this is on any level about being realistic, like on any level? Hot coffee happens to be a good example of that, even for men. And, as a dude, as someone who used to be at least a traditional, culturally created male, hot coffee was not what I thought about when I thought about quick sex or one-ups or just casual encounters. In any way, I thought it sucked when I tried it out. It's like, this is... Who likes this? That was my thought.
Prepubescent boys.
Yeah, just not even as a critical thinker, but as somebody interested in sex, I was like, this is terrible. This doesn't even come close to exciting. This is flat out terrible.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't think that you should be looking at video games to get your rocks off, though. I mean, that's
why not?
Well,
why not?
Traditionally speaking, with the games that we've had on offer to this point, they're not really there for that. And if you're using that as a tool to help yourself along, I think you should really just look around on the internet. You can find better things, Like,
maybe.
And I think really what you're getting at, and the whole point of this, I think this could be explored a lot more realistically, given like VR and given some further advances in that, because they're already doing the virtual porn thing, so games will follow suit, and there might actually be a way for them to kind of make you feel a little more emotionally attached to characters in games because it feels like you're really there rather than just looking at characters on a screen.
Okay, do you agree, Ari?
I think that might help.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me pare this down. We're going on this question long because there's a lot to think about here. But going on what you said, Izzy, let's look at how games have done this over time. Like, have games improved at this, or are they kind of par for the course?
I would say they have definitely improved. That's no doubt.
You think so? So let's look at games in history. Even if you haven't played these games before, there's one site I know of you can go to check out a lot of the games you're about to mention, which is archivegames.org, and you can play games from any platform. Old games, really old games that you can't download on DOS, for example. And a lot of them, or a few of them, happen to be sex games. So have they improved? We have a game, we have Leisure Suit Larry. I say that one first, not because it was the first, but I think is a recognizable title to modern gamers. And this was a game which was just about being some sleazy bachelor. There was no romance. You might sleep with someone.
Yeah,
you might
I played it.
You played that one? What'd you think?
It was an
of
adventure game.
Adventure.
Oh,
That's not exactly how I would classify it.
No, because it had adventure game mechanics, picking up stuff, opening doors, completing puzzles.
Yeah, it
That
did. It
puzzle
was
might be
similar to
how
like
get in
King's
bed with
Quest.
someone, but it was still that sort of mechanical thing.
Yeah, you're right.
I'd
You're
agree.
right.
I'd agree too. It's a mechanical.
That's still
And yeah,
a funny way
getting
to
into
say
bed with
it.
people is an adventure. Why not?
It's an adventure. So even if I've personally never played Custer's Revenge, but I find it hard pressed that any person who calls themselves a well-informed gamer hasn't at least heard of this. This was an old PC game about, I don't even know what to say, sleeping with or raping Indian women. This was basically a game that was supposed to have been a 19th century setting, has some white dude protagonist, and the most exciting part of this game was intercourse with Native Americans. So this is like one of video games' first foray into the idea, if we can call it that, sex, right? So this is like our roots. That's a hell of a bad context, but this is like video game roots. Video game. Well, in America, we didn't have that lofty excuse. This was just a plain old terrible fucking idea by some game developer with a sexual fantasy that was morally fucking awful. This is the roots, and it's important to stress, this is not the first entry of gaming, right? This is video games. You put it on a screen, you see it, you experience it from a controller. Custer's Revenge was one of the first. This is awful. So no romance here, we all agree. Leisure Suit Larry, no romance. This is some bachelor on an adventure. He might screw somebody. Japan, this was different. They have this whole genre of what I first learned 2 weeks ago called pretty girl games when you translate it. I think that tells you everything.
There's guy versions as well.
So pretty
like
boy or
senpai
pretty guy
stuff.
games?
Pretty guy ones, yeah.
Okay. So this is like sex in video games basically for Japan, nothing. You know, the US are like adolescents at this, basically. So sex, my point I guess overall is sex in video games is not a recent, new, modern thing. It's been going on since the 70s. It's not always been mature. It's not always been well informed. So I think in modern games, ideas, or at least in my experience, erotic roleplay, ERP. Everybody who plays a game, especially who has ever even played an MMO, should have heard of this ERP.
Yeah, wasn't it you that you were talking about? Like, you found out, like, somebody you were doing that with turned out to be, like, a dude or something?
Personally, yeah, but I had heard of ERP before then. I was on Moonguard in World of Warcraft when I personally had an experience with ERP. And it's not because I was not interested in phone sex or something like that, but that's not phone sex in a game. It's, for me anyway, that's a little bit different. You know, when you have phone sex on the phone, that's why you call. But in a video game, for me at least, it's not why I logged in. But if you're on a server like Moonguard, which I dare say, amazing server, very progressive, they are the California liberal wing of sex in video games for the video game industry. I think that describes Moonguard. And ERP was humongous. You couldn't play on an RP server without having heard of this. And the first time I heard of it, I thought, whatever, you know, I've had phone sex before, it can't be that different. But then when this person started actually flirting with me on the game, and I flirted back, It was definitely two-way. But this was my, like, introductory moment. I didn't know the line between role-playing, like, as a game, and, like, that turning into cybersex. And that's sort of one of the other, I don't know if you want to separate them too much, but cybersex and ERP. And I did not have cybersex with that person, but I've had cybersex. No doubt. Many occasions. So I don't want to make this distance between, like, those people and me. There is no difference. Like, I've done cybersex. I've done phone sex. I
can't say I haven't ever done it either.
I tell you what, cyber sex, when I first did it, that is fucking hard. It's way harder than phone sex because you only have one hand on the phone. But cyber sex, and that gets really interesting really fast. So my first introduction was through MMOs, and not for lack of having heard of those things, but never personally experienced them. And being able to say what those things are without experiencing them are different things. I won't say right or wrong on either side. They are different, though. And I think in modern gaming, that's what gamers will think about first when you say the words romance in games. They're thinking ERP, they're thinking cybersex, and there's a point there. When you introduce love into games, people don't think non-sexual encounters. They think sexual encounters. And is that a problem for games? Is that why we can't get romance in Mass Effect right? Because even developers are victims of this? Like, why is this it? Is this like the pivotal thing? It's like sex in games. You say romance and players think, oh yeah, Dragon Age, I screwed Morrigan. Is that the problem?
Yeah. I would actually like it if there were a few characters and you shifted around those endpoints of those relationships more. Like one person might just want a completely platonic relationship with you, that kind of stuff. You know? Or they go and meet someone's parents. That would be weird but funny at the same time.
And that's where my ignorance kicks in. Are there games out there? Like, have you guys heard of games that have this?
No. I think sex is easier to stomach than love. Easier to convey as well.
See, I'm completely opposite with stomaching. I don't like most sex in games. It's just stupid to me. I don't enjoy it.
It's easy to brush off.
I don't enjoy getting to that. I seriously don't enjoy getting to that stage of those relationships where it's then sex. It's like, oh great, I have to watch this awkward fucking cutscene for 10 seconds. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I could care less about it. And that's where I said you could take it away and it doesn't matter. Because I'd rather be having sex in real life than watching video game characters have sex.
No, but you're taking away the romance options in games. And I think
sex is still easier to convey than romance.
Oh, most definitely. That's why we get
Why? Because all you have to do is show it.
Why?
You don't have to. You can't show romance really. Like it's something you feel.
Can show those things on a movie
Sex
screen.
Is far easier to quantify. Games? It's far easier to quantify for a game.
Why?
It's a lot less complicated. It's mechanical. It's
why is sex this complicated?
Emotional.
Why is it mechanical?
Because sex can be an endpoint.
It's also
relationship
it's
is an ongoing thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's part of it too.
Presumably, okay. Here's a question. Presumably, extraordinarily rare, but I will be the first to say I have no idea. Presumably, people out there without vaginas and penises, born there, the sex is not an option. You're saying it's more natural?
No, not more natural. Just easier to quantify, easier to put into mechanical terms.
Why is it easier?
It's mechanical because it's a penis and a vagina, and one inserts into the other. I mean, that's mechanical.
I mean, wait, Ari, what were you expecting? This is Islane. Like, what did you want?
I mean, you could break it down to the most base definition, whereas romance can't really be broken.
It's a penis and a vagina.
It's dicks and vaginas. What do you expect?
I mean, that's what they're meant to do. That's what they do. It's a real easy in and out that sort of thing. Done and done.
Okay, so easy to be reductive. Easy to be reductive.
Right. So with romance, it's harder to boil it down because romance is different for everyone. Some people find things romantic that other people hate.
You wouldn't want to boil it down in a game. That's not the point. It's not a.
That's why it's harder to implement.
Affair.
I don't know if I agree with you. I think I'm with Ari on this.
Except for the penis vagina bit.
Well, I mean, you're not a virgin, so we know that we've all done it. We all know how it works, so I'm right.
Here's the thing.
Boiled down.
Is it easier for a person who's had their dick shot off in a war?
I don't even want to talk about this.
No. This is important because this is more common than, in the sort of cultural prevalence set of ideas for people to think, oh, maybe something happened. Otherwise it's normal to have dicks and vaginas, and this is what you naturally expect. What about people don't have those parts who consider hand jobs, blow jobs, fingering, these things are absolute sex. There is much sex as penises and vaginas. What would you say to those people?
Well, those are still mechanical things you're describing.
But you don't see those mechanics in games. You don't see fingering in games.
Well, you don't see penises entering vaginas either.
It might be blurred
fair.
out. But it might be blurred out, but
they don't even usually show that. They just show
They don't show it, but it's inferred.
It's only inferred because we understand how it works.
Oh, come on.
If you don't understand how it works...
Don't be obtuse. Don't be obtuse. Man laying on a woman, dick and vagina. That's what the gamer is left to think.
Right.
Don't be obtuse. Okay, so why aren't the other things? If that's so natural, why don't we have the other things seen in games? Why is it always a dick and a vagina? Dildos. Whatever.
Because I think developers thought that's not what the target, quote-unquote, audience wanted. You know what I mean?
Who's the target?
Straight white male.
15 to 30 straight white males, yeah.
Huh.
And that's why I argue Witcher did it so well. Like I talked about, it was just like moments where you're just sitting together watching a sunset, that cutscene. Like, that kind of stuff, that's what it is. That's nice.
And I don't have a problem with that being in games either.
I think that's nice. Honestly, I would like more of that in the romantic games. I think you're right, Izzy. There's this big sort of focus on the mechanics of traditional sex. Like, you're right. That's really it.
I mean, that's not to say that we don't know that all of those toys and other options exist, and it would be easy to implement those just the same, but I don't know. I guess they are just catering to that one mindset.
That's it. And I think that goes to sort of my natural mindset about these things, which is it doesn't take a deliberate, well-thought-out plan. I'm going to make the game this way. The player's going to kiss here. They're going to have love here. Like, that couldn't possibly happen when you're making Dragon Age. What happens is what you implicitly learn about romance and sex in games, whether you're a designer or a player, just emerge. They just come out. And what you end up with is games targeted at straight, white dudes. Everybody knows about all the other options for sex, but you're going to never get that in a game because there's this culture of ideas, especially about sex, about what is appropriate, good, desirable sex. You will rarely see a man-on-man. You will never see a man-on-man scene in Witcher. Not with Geralt. And there is a reason for that. You'll see all the women in the game.
You do see a couple of guys. You do see one guy crack on team, though, which is funny.
One out of how many women who are willing to fuck each other? Unheard of, right? This is innumerable. And that's the point. There is this very specific, when developers tell us they're keeping their games non-political, they're keeping them non-controversial, they're coming from this point of view that dicks and vaginas is totally non-controversial. What could be more natural?
No, they're coming to terms that sort of relationship isn't a political statement when it intentionally is.
When it intentionally goes against dicks and vaginas. Yeah, they see that as non-controversial. And I think what I'm saying is that's why you don't see real romance in games. There's an idea about love and romance in games that is inherently about dicks and vaginas. You will never see anything other
I still
than
think
that.
there's this kind of grade school feeling where romance is quote-unquote gay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're
right. That a lot from young kids where it's like, oh, I know that kind of, romantic conversation stuff is...
It's emo. It's
gay.
lame. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was getting at earlier.
Exactly.
Is that like they might not...
I don't mean to use that term like that, but...
No, but that's how people see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's how people would understand.
People don't want to deal with that emo shit in their games. They just want to fuck. That boils it down to like the general. No, I'm not saying me personally, and I'm not saying you guys. I'm not saying half of the people we know. I'm just saying like that. If you boil it down to the lowest common denominator, that's the attitude.
Okay, and let me insert myself as not someone above it, but someone who, when I see sex in games, get to it. Don't tease me. Don't put this sort of excuse for love in between.
Teasing is the best part.
Okay, wait. We're getting on a different subject here. If it's about sex games, tease me all you want. I'm saying these games that try to approach love, or at least sex, and they masquerade it as love relationships, as romantic relationships. Yeah. I'm saying remove the masquerade. If it's really just about sex, give it to me. Make that the A button. Like, don't make me fool around for this. That's why I turned this game on.
Press
like,
X to insert.
I'm absolutely interested in raw, unexplainable sex in games. Let me make that clear. It doesn't have to be a story for me. Put it out there. I will turn the game on. I am at an age where most of us are, who sex is exciting, and that's what I want to see. It's what I want to do. But if the game poses itself as, I think Dragon Age is semi-guilty of this, not because they almost get it right, but because I think designers and developers genuinely don't know how to get that across mechanically. I think that's why we see romance and love portrayed like it is in those games, because I don't think they're actually just trying to get to the sex. I think they're trying to figure out how do you put love in these games. But I think the approach they take is too traditional, and it disallows them to see how love works out in mechanics. And love and mechanics isn't sex.
Right.
It just isn't. It just isn't. I think that's where games get stuck, personally. I think that's why we don't have true romantic experiences, at least in games. We have plenty of sexual experiences.
Well, I think games have come pretty far in the last 10 years or so as far as trying to fix some of the problems and correct some of the wrongs. So, I mean, it's a matter of time. Maybe we'll have something like that eventually.
10 years?
Maybe less.
20?
I'd say probably before we die, we might have something a little closer to what you're asking for.
That's depressing, man. That's depressing. So we'll wrap it up there. The question to listeners is, what is love in your games? Tell us about, or at least think about, games that you think were supposed to be romantic, were supposed to have elements about real relationships in them, and really it just came down to clever ways to seduce somebody out of sex. Tell us your experience. What do you think about that? Are games getting it right? Will they forever get it wrong? Is it impossible? Are we just doing it wrong? What do you think? Let us know. And that's the Digital Frontier.
That does it for this week's edition of Couch Potatoes. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you'll continue to join us. Couch Potatoes can be found on Twitter at Couch Potatoes, and on Anook at anook.com/blog/couch-potatoes. Music credits, other places you can find us, and pertinent links discussed on the show can be found in the show notes. Thanks for listening. We're going to get back to gaming now, so we'll see you next week.